Well, you're watching Arise America. Welcome back. Now, support for President Donald Trump's immigration policies fell in a new poll with stark differences among Republicans and Democrats on deportations and the use of detention facilities. A poll released July 20 by CBS found that immigration is the top issue that swayed respondents' opinion on the president. 61% said immigration and deportation policies mattered a lot, followed by inflation and the economy. Overall, the poll puts Trump's approval rating at 42%, with a disapproval at 58%. The survey previously found Trump's approval rating was 45% in June and 47% in mid-April. In contrast, the second-term president's aggregate ratings from the New York Times and Real Clear Politics show a 44% and 45.5% approval, respectively, and the 53% and 52% disapproval. In the latest CBS poll, 56% disapproved of the president's immigration stances, while 44% approved. That's a 10-point drop from polling at the beginning of Trump's second term in February. The outlet reports when 54% approved and 46% disapproved. The poll also specifically asked respondents about the administration's efforts to deport immigrants they say are in the U.S. illegally. Support for the push has also dropped 10 points since February, with the majority now against the policies. Now, less than half, which is 49% of respondents, said they approved of the deportation in July's survey, compared to 59% in the results from February. The administration's use of detention facilities, like its deportation efforts, saw similar results in July. And that's the poll in July, with 58% opposed and 42% in favor of the use. Now, the support was also drawn across party lines, with 85% of Republicans approving of the detention facilities compared to 15% of Democrats. Now, that's just a breakdown of the conversation we're about to have. One of our top stories today from America. Joining me now is Angela Forbes. She's Director, Strategic Initiatives, Democrats Abroad. Good to have you this evening. A quick notice, impromptu, but then thank you so much for joining us. Now, this poll comes with errors, of course. We know the numbers aren't always accurate, but as a Democrat, how do you view these immigration policies? Now, I know it irks you, but can you explain how it affects Americans and what is in the public now with regards these polls?
Well, Trump's immigration policies are starting to affect more than what people thought. He said that he would get rid of all the gang members and the bad people doing crime, but he's doing other things. He's arresting people who from their jobs. He is taking people who have sought asylum or have some sort of special status and taking it away from them. It's starting to affect people. Many people are married to immigrants, and their husbands and wives are being deported. The farm workers are being deported. Restaurant workers are being deported. People who are just leading their lives and were in good status are being deported. So it's not pleasant for many people. You can see it everywhere, that there are so many people that are being deported that they considered the good ones. But what Trump really meant was that all immigrants are bad, and he doesn't want any in the country. So when he enacts these policies, him and Stephen Miller, it's going to cause an upset because so many people are being deported. And it's a lot of people that were following the rules that are being deported, not criminals.
Right. Now, some Americans are worried about how the economy would look like in coming months. Now, statistically speaking, I'm not an economist, but we cannot predict for sure that the economy is going to plunge. But what are your concerns about the economy as a Democrat, and what are Democrats also saying about the economy? You know, sometimes some of these statistics, they go up and down and you can't really tell, but then how would this, affect Americans economy-wise?
Well, our credit rating recently got downgraded by Moody's, which is something that hasn't happened before. Our economy will be deeply affected by the lack of workers, especially in the farm sector, in the restaurant sector. Also, our tourism is down by a large percentage point, which our tourism is a multi-billion dollar industry. And people don't want to come here from foreign countries because they're afraid of what could happen to them while they're in the United States. Um, the tariffs, the constant seesaw back and forth with the tariffs is also causing our economy, ripples in our economy. People don't know how much anything is going to cost. He recently just had a tariff on tomatoes from Mexico, and there's not a lot of margin. They're just going to have to raise the prices on tomatoes. So it's going to affect people's ability to buy things. It's going to affect businesses' abilities to plan. It's going to affect uh, almost everything, and that will be what will sink our economy, along with the big beautiful bill that is causing a giant deficit. And in Trump said, in his own words, he said, "I want to balance the budget." He said a lot of things that were untrue. And as long as people keep expecting something positive from Donald Trump, they will always be disappointed, and his poll numbers will continue to tank.
Another issue that's been brought to the light based on the poll that I did read up earlier was about the detention facilities. That's the use of detention facilities like deportation efforts. What's your take on that? Because this culminates into the result of that poll by the CBS.
Well, as the detention facilities are really concentration camps where people are sleeping in cages, 30 to a cage, 20 or 30 to a cage, with three bathrooms in them that also provide free toilets, that also provide drinking water. A few of our representatives and senators went there and they exposed some of the horrors that are going on there. I think that Americans don't want this. They might want immigrants to be removed, but putting them in concentration camps for what purpose? I don't know. Trump mentioned something a few weeks ago about, which sounded sort of like slavery, about the farm owners being responsible for the migrant workers. And that was just very reminiscent of slavery to me. Um, I think that even people who want there to be less immigration in the United States, we don't want people to be caged like animals, like in a concentration camp that's reminiscent of another place, the place where I live in Germany. It's down as more information comes out. The food had maggots in it, and people, they're not getting enough food at that. It's a disgusting and horrifying thing that the United States of America, who fought against fascism and fought against this kind of treatment of people, is now doing it themselves.
Now, before I let you go, well, finally, just a little bit of a touch on how, these immigrants, if they're actually illegally, being in the U.S. or if they illegally entered the U.S., how else do you think if a Democratic president were on seat would have handled this? I mean, it's like your door is closed and people come into your house and you need your space and it seems like he wants to fine tune the economy so that make America great again is what he said from the start of his campaign. And I know that there's a divide amongst the MAGA world now, especially with regards to the Epstein files. But then I'm drawing your attention to this because it seems like there's so much criticism of the president. But then how else do you handle, such deportation? I mean, a couple of weeks ago also, he talked about giving, monies to people who'd like to return back to their country. And it's been a back and forth. So how best would he have handled this issue?
Well, President Obama and President Biden deported thousands of people, and none of them were ill-treated. They all received due process. They were allowed to have lawyers. They were allowed to meet with a judge. They were not put in concentration camps. They were sent back to their home countries. And uh, Obama deported so many people, they called him the deporter in chief. And Trump is not doing the right thing. He's not handling people like human beings. He's treating them like they're criminals and garbage, and they're just human beings.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you, Angela Forbes, for making it time to join us on Arise America. She is, well, the Director of Strategic Initiatives, Democrats Abroad.